Oh yeah, is it Saturday already? Have we made it through yet another week of Star Wars news? Okay, this is a crazy one. Not anything I thought we would have been talking about in February of 2025, but a Mara Jade Disney Plus show could possibly be in development right now. Now take this with a massive grain of salt because this is just a rumor for now, but even with that, we have to talk about this because what Mara Jade would do for the canon of Star Wars would change everything, and we got to talk about it. Also, Daisy Ridley has given yet another update for this Rey movie, and we have some news about some animated stuff and The Mandalorian and Grogu, and of course, Andor Season 2 is in less than 70 days, and we still don't have a trailer. So what's up, everybody? How's everybody doing on this fine Saturday afternoon? All right, so we got a lot to talk about, as per usual, but the weirdest headline of today is a Mara Jade Disney Plus TV show. I saw this and I was quite shocked. I did not think that they were going to go down the route of Mara Jade, and I still am pretty shaky on the idea. It's not coming from the greatest of great sources, although it is coming from multiple sources, which is pretty strange. But take it with a giant grain of salt. What we are talking about today is purely speculative until, of course, Disney or Lucasfilm announces anything at Star Wars Celebration in April. But a Mara Jade show, what that means for the Mandoverse and for the sequel trilogy and what Luke Skywalker ends up being on Octu is pretty damn important. And the character of Mara Jade herself is a very important one in Legends as well. So we're going to talk about all of this. But first things first, let's say hi to everybody in the chat, shall we? Okay, let's do this. Dom, what is up? Jason likes you. How we doing? Holly, what is up? Christopher in the house. Cole Rita, how we doing? Nathan, what is up? Freddie in the house. Austin Snow, what is up? Trent, how we doing? Fearless, how we doing? John Groom, what's up? I Hodja, how we doing? Robert, what is up? Darth Plagueis lives, how we doing? Brandon Baker in the house. WUV Grant, how we doing? Justin, what is up? If I missed you, you know the deal. Just yell at me in the chat. Let's give everybody a nice little
Hello there.
General Kenobi.
Okay, so as somebody's already said in the chat, yes, the rumor also is saying that Zendaya, the actress Zendaya, is in talks to be this live-action Mara Jade, which immediately I say no. One of the biggest key factors of the Mara Jade character is her red hair. And last I checked, Zendaya does not have red hair, but I mean, she could always put on a wig. But even still, I don't think it's a really good option. We're going to talk about it all. But before we do any of that, let's put up a poll in the chat to see where you guys are at with this whole Mara Jade situation, shall we? Shall we? And actually, I have a outside source here that wants to put their input in on this whole Mara Jade situation. But first, let's put up this poll. Do you want Mara Jade? Well, I can't spell. Mara Jade, oh my God. To come to, actually, let's just put Mara Jade in live action. Do you want her to get her own show in live action? Or actually, yeah, let's put her own show in there too. Do you want a Mara Jade show in live action? Oops. Yes or no? Yes or no, chat? You tell me. And we have a nice news anchor today. Would you like to give your input on Mara Jade coming to live action? It's a quick yes or no question. Okay, well, you have to tell people on the microphone so they can hear you. Introducing a guest that has been begged for weeks because I'm not enough anymore. Samantha.
Hi, everyone. I'm back.
So do you think that Mara Jade will come into live action at some point?
Yes, at some point.
It's a good answer. Honestly, these reports are not getting me too hyped up about it, but she is a very important character to Luke Skywalker's story, and I do hope that she exists at some point. Now, the chat knows that you're, of course, watching the Clone Wars right now. So you're only on we're on season 2 still, right? Yeah. So season 2. All right? 2 seasons in, and I'm going to be completely honest with you, the first 2 seasons of the Clone Wars are the worst 2 seasons. But what do we think so far?
I'm very much enjoying the Clone Wars. But I wish I could see more Anakin and Padme stuff. And I like Ahsoka a lot.
There you have it. See, she's smart. She understands the best two characters in Star Wars are still Ahsoka and Anakin. Now, but yeah, you just got introduced to Ahsoka, so that's pretty different. You'll have very differing opinions of her by season 7. I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but yeah, that's a whole nother thing. Look at this. Look at this. This is my own chat. Stop talking, Mike. You're getting in the way. I can leave. You know, I can leave. I can leave. Yeah.
My hoodie says Cape Cod. I'm sorry, no Star Wars merch today, but
Yeah, it says Cape Cod.
Yeah.
Until Cape Cod is brought into canon Star Wars, then that's not, yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. Season 7, just hold out. Yeah, season 7's great. We'll get there eventually. On our rate, it'll be like 10 years from now. But
They want the milk again.
they want the blue milk?
Yeah, scroll up.
No, we're not doing that again.
Look.
No.
Should I go get milk?
No,
everyone?
no, we're not doing that again. That took a whole setup. I had to cover everything with tarps because I didn't want to get anything wet with all the blue milk that was poured on my head. It was a
helped.
disaster. Yes, you helped, obviously. I didn't say that. You'll meet all these characters too. Well, you've already met Rex, Bo-Katan. You met. Actually, did you meet? Yeah, you met Bo-Katan.
Yeah.
That's about it. You'll meet all the other ones. Okay. So should we get into this article? You want to stay here for the whole stream, or do you want to just? We can pop you back in if we'll ask you questions. We'll go to the outside media every once in a while. Okay. All right. So we'll bring you back. We'll bring you back every once in a while. Let's get to this news. Okay. So first things first. Let's talk about who the hell is Mara Jade. So for some of you, you might not know, whether you haven't read Legends or you don't know the story at all, you don't know who this character of Mara Jade is. Now, like I mentioned before, Zendaya is the sort of, I guess, cast that some people are rumoring going out there. And the red hair is a very important piece to this character's obviously appearance. If she showed up on screen as Zendaya just looks, people wouldn't understand that that's the character of Mara Jade, and it wouldn't immediately be given clearly. So, who is this character? Well, let's just give a little bit of a backstory. We can actually pull up her character's description in a second, but let's just give a little bit of a character background here in Legends. Again, this is all just Legends for now until it is brought into canon, and it will likely be a little bit different when it is, okay? So, the Emperor's hand, as she was put, she worked for Emperor Palpatine during the time of the Empire. However, in this Legends trilogy called The Heir to the Empire, where we of course see Grand Admiral Thrawn, which is kind of playing out right now in in canon, with Ahsoka introducing Thrawn into live action, we have Mara Jade, who after the defeat of the Emperor and the fall of the Empire, becomes sort of a rogue mercenary type, sort of a bounty hunter kind of. But to make a really long story short, she eventually comes into contact with Luke Skywalker. And at first they're sort of enemies, and then they of course eventually become a couple. It's a long story, but to make a really long story short, they become a couple, they get married, they have kids. So she's a very, very important piece to the puzzle of Luke Skywalker. Now, in canon, Luke, of course, becomes an old hermit on Octu, which a lot of fans don't really like quite a bit. So that story could be helped quite a bit by a character like Mara Jade and possibly Luke's kids. So with that being the very brief description of who Mara Jade is, let's actually look up the actual one on online. Let's see. Mara Jade, Star Wars. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is Wikipedia. So let's take a look at this. Wikipedia. Ooh, no, this is Wikipedia. So let's take a look at this. Again, all this is Legends, as it says right there. None of her character is canon, at least up until this point. But what's funny to me, and I just looked at the poll, is 71% of you guys say, yes, you would love this idea, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool. So let's keep reading. All right. So Mara Jade Skywalker, born Mara Jade, was a Force-sensitive human female who was during different times in her life the Emperor's hand, a smuggler, and later the Jedi Master who sat upon the Jedi High Council. She was raised as a servant and assassin to Emperor Palpatine and became a high-level Force-using operative. So that's sort of the background of her character. That's where we get introduced, or I guess, to Mara Jade as the Emperor's hand. That's what she was. She was evil. She was an evil character turned good and eventually falls in love with Luke Skywalker. But she carried out the Emperor's bidding, killing rebels and corrupt Imperials alike. Let's get to the Luke Skywalker stuff. Okay. Which was continued. After Palpatine's death, here we go. She received the last command, which was to kill Luke Skywalker. However, the death of her master caused her to go rogue. Eventually, she joined smugglers chief Talon Card, becoming one of his best smugglers in the second in command. During this stuff with Grand Admiral Thrawn, she was forced to work with Luke Skywalker and developed a grudging respect for him. During the Galactic Civil War, Mara Jade proved herself skilled in a variety of fields. She was a good pilot and mechanic, and trained to use both a blaster and hand-to-hand combat without relying on the Force itself. Okay, let's get to the good stuff here. Later years interacting with Luke Skywalker, blah, 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 blah. This is a very long... Okay. After marrying Luke Skywalker, Mara Jade took the surname Skywalker and devoted her life to the new Jedi Order. So all this stuff, the new Jedi Order of Luke Skywalker, not Rey, which we will talk about later on. There's some news about that. But all this stuff about Luke's Jedi Academy, Ben Solo's fall to the dark side, Palpatine's coming back, Snoke and the First Order's rise to power, all of that could involve this character of Mara Jade. And it would still make sense. Obviously, Mara Jade is not mentioned at all in the sequel trilogy, but very little is mentioned about Luke's backstory in that Last Jedi story arc. The only really backstory that we know is that Ben Solo has a bad dream, Luke Skywalker stands above him, and Ben Solo and the rest of the Knights of Ren kill the entire Jedi Temple, leaving it burning to the ground. So we really have very little background about what happened in these years between the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy, and honestly, that is really going to help in this scenario when you could possibly bring in a character as important as a Mara Jade. And yes, this goes on to talk about the Yuuzhan Vong, which I don't think they will bring in, at least in between these two trilogies. They're just too important and crazy of a bad guy to be brought in at this point in the timeline. You'd have to wait till after the sequel trilogy to do something like this. However, you could allude to their existence in this time period and then maybe bring them in as a villain post sequel trilogy. But that's a whole nother thing for a whole nother time. We're just talking Mara Jade right now, and this character has the ability to not only make the sequel trilogy better, but make this time period between the originals and the sequels so much crazier and so much better, with the possibility of actually doing this character correctly, giving Luke Skywalker a reason to go into hiding, and that is losing his wife and maybe even his kids, if that's even on the table at this point. But this character could change it all. And nobody thought that she was coming to live action at all. Until today. Because this news article is, again, a rumor for now. And the sources it is coming from are not the best, but they've been right before. So we have to talk about it. So, without further ado, let's dive into this article, shall we? Well, first, I want to check out this poll. Where are we at? So, yeah, 70% of you guys, 69, nice. 69% of you guys say, yes, you would love a Mara Jade Disney Plus TV show. So, I don't even know what that would look like. Like, you have only a few Mandoverse shows that have ever existed. The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, and Skeleton Crew. Now, The Mandalorian, of course, kickstarted this whole thing. Started the whole Mandoverse and gave us a great connection to Boba Fett and Bo-Katan and Ahsoka and Luke Skywalker and all these characters. The Mandalorian is pretty much the glue that is keeping this whole time period together. The 3 seasons of The Mandalorian. Then you have The Book of Boba Fett. And Boba Fett is, of course, a legendary legacy character. Same can be said about Ahsoka, who gets her own show. Skeleton Crew now was sort of its own thing. They didn't really connect much to the other stories. It did a little bit with the New Republic and stuff, but other than that, not many connections. So it's possible, because of Skeleton Crew and its sort of success amongst the fandom, the viewer numbers were not really there, but the fandom really loved it, that a project like this, a Mara Jade project, could work. It's almost like Skeleton Crew walked so that Mara Jade could run at this point. But as I see some people in the chat are concerned about Disney and the fact that Disney could screw it all up. Honestly, I don't like that argument at all. Because when you look at what Disney has done so far with some legendary characters, is they've done a pretty damn good job about it. Yes, you could find issues with the sequel trilogy, Luke Skywalker, of course, and maybe even Boba Fett. You don't like the Boba Fett thing. Again, I could argue till the cows come home about Boba Fett and how that actually works. He had a near-death experience. Over 5 years past, he lived in the desert with the Tusken Raiders who eventually got murdered. And then, of course, he wanted to protect his home. So that's a whole other thing for a whole other time. That was actually very well explained. But with other legacy characters since then, they've done an incredible job. And even bringing in Legends characters into canon, they've done a very good job as well, like a Grand Admiral Thrawn. But with that being said, the whole Disney ruined Star Wars stuff is quite ridiculous when you think about it. They actually saved Star Wars because after 2012, we probably would never see another Star Wars project. And some of the stuff is absolutely incredible. Some of the greatest Star Wars we've ever received has been in the last 10 years. So, with that being said, let's talk about this report, shall we? This is coming from comicbookmovie.com. Again, take it with a giant grain of salt because we don't know if it's true or not. But the fact that it's coming from multiple sources, although the sources are a little bit shaky, you still have to take it as a possibility. With Star Wars Celebration right around the corner, it's very likely a possibility. So let's take a look at this. Star Wars, a Mara Jade TV series. Oh, hang on. Rumored to be in the works. Could Zendaya play the Emperor's hand? Okay, so first things first, no. Zendaya is a great actress, okay? She's great as... Honestly, though, doesn't she play MJ in the Spider-Man movies? Isn't MJ always a redhead, too? So they're going to change both these characters just to make it Zendaya? I don't know. Okay, but I feel like the red hair is extremely important in this scenario, especially for fans who want to see the accuracy done correctly. But according to new rumors, Lucasfilm is moving forward with a series revolving around fan-favorite expanded universe character Mara Jade. Zendaya, meanwhile, is also being eyed for the Star Wars role, so let's talk about it. In Timothy Zahn's heir to the Empire trilogy, Star Wars fans met Mara Jade and learned that she was once the Emperor's hand. Undercover in Jabba the Hutt's palace during the events of Return of the Jedi, she didn't make it into the sail barge in time and failed to assassinate Luke Skywalker. So it's really all tied together, at least in Legends. Palpatine's loyal soldier subsequently blamed him both for Palpatine's defeat and the fact that she lost everything, prompting her to hunt down Luke Skywalker for years later. Now, this is just a cool character arc. Her whole thing is that she's blaming her whole life falling apart, Palpatine's death and everything going wrong in her life on Luke Skywalker, the character she eventually falls in love with and marries and has kids with. Like, that's a cool character arc that I want to see. And honestly, if John Favreau, Dave Filoni, are at the helm of that, I have all the confidence in the world that it will be done correctly. Because to take a character from being, I hate that person so much more than anything else, to falling in love and marrying that person, Dave Filoni's the guy to do that. He's done that pretty much, not the same, I guess, arc before, but he's done something similar. He's done character arcs like that before, like an Asajj Ventress. Asajj Ventress is pretty close to a Mara Jade type character. She's an assassin for Count Dooku. She's an assassin for Palpatine. She hunts down Jedi, kills Jedi, is a bad guy, clearly. Same with Mara Jade. And she eventually turns to the light because she falls in love with Quinlan Vos. Same thing happens with Mara Jade. It's different to an extent, but it is very similar, and Dave Filoni already wrote that arc. Also, you have characters who've gone sort of on a similar redemption arc, like Mara Jade does with Crosshair in The Bad Batch. Crosshair's arc is incredible through the 3 seasons of The Bad Batch, and that's very similar, in a way, to Mara Jade's. But let's keep going. It's a cool arc, going from the person who wants to kill Luke and hunt down Luke for the rest of her years to marrying the guy. All right. Despite initially setting out to kill the Jedi, Mara ultimately realizes that Palpatine planted the idea in her head at the moment of his death and embraces the idea of being a Jedi too. After ridding herself with the Sith's voice by dealing the killing blow to Luke Skywalker, the clone of Luke created by Dark Jedi Joruus C'baoth. Okay, yes, it is a long story. If you don't know what I'm talking about here with Luke Skywalker or Joruus C'baoth, it's all in that Heir to the Empire trilogy. It is a trilogy of books, so a lot of story goes down in it. But yes, to make a really long story short, Grand Admiral Thrawn finds a cloned version of an old Jedi named Joruus C'baoth who clones Luke Skywalker to make Luke Skywalker, and they fight it out, and Mara Jade kills Luke Skywalker. It's a whole thing, okay? But that's the story of the Heir to the Empire. So this is actually really cool as well because you have Palpatine pulling the strings from behind the scenes. And if you have Mara Jade truly being called out to by Palpatine, hearing the voice of him through her head to go hunt down Luke Skywalker, that would be something that could allude to Palpatine's return, because it's the same thing that happens with Kylo Ren, with Ben Solo's Fall to the Dark Side. He hears every voice in your head has been Palpatine that whole time. That's what we learned at the beginning of The Rise of Skywalker. So that would be kind of cool as well. It could allude to Palpatine pulling the strings from behind the scenes for all these years. It would be cool. All right. Eventually, she and Luke marry and have children. Something that we know can't happen thanks to the Star Wars sequel trilogy. I disagree with this. I don't think this is something that can't happen. I mean, maybe I'm missing something, chat. Tell me in the chat, but why can't this happen? The sequel trilogy doesn't say, Luke doesn't sit there and go, I didn't have kids. Yes, it doesn't show his kids. It never shows Mara Jade or alludes to him ever being married. But there's ways to get around that. There are certainly ways to get around that. It's the same thing as the prequel trilogy getting around the original trilogy. In the original trilogy, you never hear the name Padme. You don't know who Padme is. You obviously know that these kids had a mother and a father, because they learn that Darth Vader's their father. But you don't know about Padme. Never once is Padme mentioned by name in the original trilogy. And yet Padme's a main character of the prequels. So why can't Mara Jade not be mentioned at all in the sequel trilogy, but exist before it? Obviously, it's a hard thing to pull off, but it's not impossible. Because it's half-assed and backwards. Well, that's what the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy was as well. The original trilogy, as great as it is, has so many open-ended questions and plot holes, for lack of a better word. Yeah. They're going to send her off to the other galaxy as well. I mean, it's a possibility that, well, there's a bunch of different possibilities here. She could die before the sequel trilogy happens. She could go off to Peridia, like you're mentioning there. That's a possibility too. I think it's more likely, though, that she would die. Yeah. Let's just say George Lucas disagreed with how many grandchildren there were, and one reason was that Luke never got married or had kids. Well, yeah, George Lucas has said time and time again that these Legends novels, which we're talking about right now, don't exist in his head. They're a different universe, as he puts it. Yeah. Maybe Rey trains Luke's kids. Well, Luke's kids would be a lot older at that time. So I doubt it. Yeah. The Multiverse is Broken says it would be like Ahsoka in the Clone Wars, a major character with events narrowly dodging, being in the films themselves, despite being immensely important. That's very true. Oh, I missed a super chat? Hang on. I forgot about that. There was a super chat actually before the stream started that I missed. Hang on. Let's see if I can scroll back up there. But going back to what you were saying, yeah, I mean, Ahsoka is the perfect example of that too. She is a extremely important character to Anakin's fall to the dark side, but just to the Star Wars story in general. And now she's brought into live action in the Mandoverse. She has her own show in the Mandoverse. So clearly she is an extremely important character. Is she ever once in the prequel trilogy? No. Is she ever once in the original trilogy? No. Not once. Or in the sequel trilogy, for that matter. And this character is insanely important in my second favorite character of all time and many people's favorite character of all time. So how can Mara Jade not exist in this time period between the originals and the sequels when a character like Ahsoka can exist in between all of the stories, in between the prequels and the originals, in between the originals and the sequels, but never once show up in a movie? And it works. All right, I missed this super chat from Darth Plagueis Lives with a very generous $5 holla. I appreciate that, Darth Plagueis. I really, really do. Says Mara Jade would please so many fans and give them a real reason for Luke to go into hiding. Oh, like Lucasfilm. Much love right back to you, Darth Plagueis. I agree. I think bringing a character from Legends like a Mara Jade to live action would please so many fans. Yeah, so many. Especially if done correctly. But also going to the second half of that, giving it a reason for Luke to go into hiding, it gives it more of a reason. Because whatever happened to Mara Jade, now we don't know if they are going to go down this route, but if she died somehow to Snoke or whoever, I don't know. Kylo Ren, who knows? If she dies in some sort of way, or maybe she even goes into hiding herself, I don't know. There's a way that they can explain Luke going into hiding better with the character of Mara existing, because it gives it more stakes for Luke as to why he goes into hiding. Yeah. True. Anthony says, Mike, you know what is a really good way to get around the sequel trilogy? Avoiding it at all costs by ignoring it? Abeloth versus Ahsoka in the world, Abeloth versus Anakin in the World Between Worlds, resulting in changes. That'll never happen. Like talking about retconning the sequel trilogy or changing the future of the Star Wars time, it's never going to happen. Never. They made way too much money. Oh my God, I'm losing my voice. They've made way too much money off of that trilogy and off the characters from that sequel trilogy, and they're still making more stories off of it. The Rey movie is still one of the next projects to be released over the next couple of years. So that's never going to happen. Yeah. Never gonna happen. Jessica with a very generous $1 super sticker. I appreciate that, Jessica. I really, really do. That's pretty nice. I appreciate that. Is that the first ever super sticker we've ever gotten? Maybe not. Maybe not. Technically, Ahsoka's voice is in The Rise of Skywalker, but that's barely anything. That's true. You caught me there. Her voice is in The Rise of Skywalker, so she's technically in a movie. But yeah, does that mean that she's dead by the time of that movie? Or is she just able to call through the Force to Rey? Yeah. I don't know. Okay, but let's get back to this article. So, I still don't think this is true. Like, Luke can get married and have kids, or even just get married, not have kids. And it won't affect the sequel trilogy. Just like Ahsoka does affect the prequel trilogy, but doesn't affect it in the way that she's not there. Same with the original trilogy, she's not there, even though she has projects post-original trilogy. Okay. We could, however, still see Mara introduced as a compelling new female protagonist who is front and center in this next era of storytelling. For many fans, the hope is that Dave Filoni might introduce her in his upcoming Star Wars movie, which is, again, this is not the title, but people are calling it the Heir to the Empire movie because it's this Heir to the Empire type story with Grand Admiral Thrawn. Okay. As we first reported on the Gazette.com, it's Star Wars something. Yeah, sure. Whatever. Scooper, my time to shine, hello. And again, this is where they take it with a giant grain of salt. She has been wrong time and time and time again. However, she's also been right. They bring word that Lucasfilm is developing a TV series revolving around Mara Jade. Well, we'd imagine most of her history with Luke will be scrapped. Again, I don't think so, but let's keep going. There are still ways to adapt her history as the Emperor's hand, and for all we know, she and Luke did cross paths before his self-imposed exile. I honestly think it's more likely that her sort of marriage to Luke is going to happen rather than her being the Emperor's hand. If she's the Emperor's hand, that would mean that Vader knew about her. Or that would mean that Palpatine was keeping more secrets from Vader and somehow the Emperor's hand would be one of them. I don't know. I think it's more likely that she starts a villain, ends up being the love interest for Luke, than she starts the Emperor's hand. What? Star Wars scoopers being wrong? Crazy. I know. So, obviously, a lot of what we talk about during these times between Star Wars shows, as we were waiting for Andor Season 2's trailer very patiently, I might add. But during these times between Star Wars shows, the gaps are sort of filled with these crazy Star Wars news stories, leaks and scoops and all this stuff. And sometimes they're true. Sometimes they aren't. Sometimes there's truth in some of these reports. Like maybe Mara Jade will play a role in some sort of upcoming Mandoverse project, but she's not going to get her own show. Or she's not going to be played by Zendaya. Like there's probably truth in some form in this rumor, but not all of it is going to be true. And that's sort of what we have to go through, I guess. Yeah. You say you're being patient? I've been so patient! This Andor Season 2 trailer could come in 3 weeks. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind. No, I'm very very patiently waiting for this Andor Season 2 trailer still. You know me, very patient guy. Now, we'll talk about Andor Season 2 in a little bit, but honestly, I think a lot of this report is probably not true. The fact that she's getting her own show sounds a little crazy to me. But hey, crazier things have happened. But that's not the end of this article, because it talks about Zendaya. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. And as we do, tell me in the chat, would Zendaya make a good Mara Jade? And if not, then who would? Tell me in the chat. Okay. The Insider is also revealed that Spider-Man's No Way Home star, Zendaya, is also being considered for the Star Wars role. Mara Jade isn't mentioned, though. We are sure you'll agree that she'd be a good fit for the character. So when Zendaya is being considered for a Star Wars role, these are two different reports in that Mara Jade is not being Zendaya and vice versa. But that's sort of the rumor there. Ahsoka was reportedly a hit for Lucasfilm. Season 2 is already in the works. Obviously, Ahsoka is the greatest thing I've ever seen with my eyes. Just kidding. Greatest television show I've ever seen with my eyes. Ahsoka from start to finish is the all killer, no filler, greatest single season of television they've ever created. Obviously, season 2 was warranted from that. But so another female-led series featuring a badass lightsaber-wielding warrior stands a good chance of being just as successful, regardless of who is playing the lead. So the idea here is that they had such a success with Ahsoka that they have a character in Mara Jade who already has sort of an established backstory in Legends that fans already have a connection to, that they can bring her into her own series, and hopefully it's as successful as Ahsoka was. Now, it's possible that that is sort of good math, because Ahsoka was successful because of her connection to Anakin, and of course, the Rebels crew, and Grand Admiral Thrawn, and setting up the heir to the Empire, and all that stuff. Mara Jade could have a very similar story or series. Her first season could be about her backstory with Palpatine, how that sort of transfers into being an assassin with the Hutt crew, which we've seen a lot of, and then, of course, falling in love with Luke Skywalker, which who doesn't want to see that? That'd be pretty cool as well. Oh, we got a super chat. Hang on. John Groom with a very generous $5 holla. I appreciate that, John. I really, really do. Says, possibly marry Mara Jade, maybe? Wait, what? Oh, these are actresses. Mary Jades. Is that really an actress's name? Because that is literally 2 letters off from Mara Jade. Karen Gillian, Holland Rodden Blake Lively, Deborah Ann Wool, or Bryce Dallas Howard. Wow. I only know 2 of those names, so we're going to have to look those up. But I appreciate the super chat. I really, really do. Super chats, memberships, keep the lights on over here. No, but I appreciate it. All right, let's look up some of these actresses to see who should play Mara Jade. I don't know any of these by name, except for Bryce Dallas Howard and Blake Lively. Bryce, again, doesn't have the red hair. But let's see. All right, what was the first one? Mary Jades? Is this really an actress, or are you lying to me? This is not a real actress, John. Or did you just misspell Mara Jade? I don't know. Okay. Moving on next. Karen Gillian? Gillian? Karen Gillian. Karen Gillian, a Scottish actress and director and screenwriter and model, born, known for her roles in Doctor Who, and Guardians. Oh, Nebula. Oh, this is Nebula from Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay, she's got the red hair. Let's see. She's got the red hair. I did not know that she does not look anything like Nebula. That is a blue character with metal pieces. But she's got the blonde, not blonde, the red hair. It's a pretty good choice. I mean, all we're basing this off of is this image right here. This character's never been seen in live action before. So all we really have to accomplish here is the red hair and a purple lightsaber, pretty much. That's about it. So, Karen, pretty good option. What was the other ones? Holland Roden. Okay. Holland Roden. Again, more red hair. Nice. Sure. I mean, the fact is, the one person on this list is Zendaya, and I think it's a horrible choice purely because of the red hair. That's it. So, good choice. Blake Lively, I don't think is red. Let's skip to Bryce Dallas Howard for a second. Did Bryce Dallas Howard ever have red hair? Because we know Bryce Dallas Howard mostly as a director of Mando episodes and stuff like that. Oh, she does have red hair. Why did I think she had blonde hair? Oh, she has very red hair. Never mind, chat. She's definitely got red hair. So we, of course, know her as a director. She's directed many of the best episodes of The Mandalorian and in the Book of Boba Fett and now Skeleton Crew. And many fans have wanted to see her get her own directing of a movie for Star Wars, which is how it should work and how hopefully it does work. But she is an actress as well. I mean, she was in the Jurassic World movies. She's been in a ton of stuff, but yeah, that's her in Jurassic World right there. So it would make a lot of sense and be pretty cool, honestly, if she was the director of this Mara Jade show and also played Mara Jade. I mean, we've seen this before with Star Wars where you've had some sort of animated characters brought into live action with their animated counterparts, like a Bo-Katan or a Grand Admiral Thrawn. Now, this is a little bit different, but you have a creative from Star Wars being brought in as a character in Star Wars. Now, we've seen Dave Filoni play, what's his character's name? Who's Dave Filoni's character's name in The Mandalorian? We've seen him play a pilot in The Mandalorian. You've seen Jon Favreau play multiple characters throughout the Clone Wars and in The Mandalorian as well. So it's not that crazy to think that another director or creative at Lucasfilm, Bryce Dallas Howard, could play a Star Wars character. Trapper Wolf, that's what it was. Trapper Wolf. Thank you. Trapper Wolf, yes. So Dave Filoni plays Trapper Wolf. Jon Favreau has played Pre-Vizsla, and doesn't he voice Paz Vizsla as well? So he's voiced multiple characters from the Clone Wars and The Mandalorian. So why not have Bryce play Mara Jade? That'd be pretty damn cool. That'd be pretty damn cool. Okay. But let's keep going. I appreciate the super chat, John. I really, really do. Let's keep reading, shall we? So what they were pretty much saying here is that Ahsoka was such a hit for Disney. So they just they think that the best bet is to do another character like Ahsoka in a Mara Jade. Of course, different for different reasons. But they think that will be a success. And that makes sense. If you're looking at it from a business perspective, that makes sense. People like this, they're going to like this. Hopefully. Yeah. However, Mara is a fantastic character and one that fans have dreamed of seeing in live action for decades. Lucasfilm doing so will make it a lot of people happy, and studios need a win after delivering so many divisive movies and Star Wars shows in recent years. Honestly, I don't agree with this back half of this statement. Yes, there's been some divisive projects, to say the least, the sequel trilogy being the biggest one, of course. But in recent years, when you look at it from a, I guess, cool-headed perspective, it's been quite... I don't know how to phrase this. For the most part, most Star Wars fans who have level cool heads would say that the majority of content over the last 5-6 years has been quite good. We'll put it that way. Yes, you have your beta fets, you have your Andors, you have the whole situation with the Acolyte. But for the most part, you have straight bangers for the last 6 years. The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, some episodes I'll give you of the Book of Boba Fett, Skeleton Crew, 3 seasons of The Bad Batch, Clone Wars Season 7, Tales of the Jedi. I mean, you could even go to video games, Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor. I mean, there's just straight bangers for the last 6 years. So I disagree with the back half of this statement, because we've been eating good for the last 6 years as Star Wars fans, and I don't think we understand how good we've really had it. However, moving on, addressing his plans for a Star Wars movie, Filoni had chosen his words carefully, but confirmed that we are not necessarily seeing the classic Rebels soldiers versus Stormtrooper battles, which have defined the Star Wars franchise for so many years. So the New Republic versus undead witches? It seems likely, as he said this. I'm setting up what seems to be a larger conflict with the Imperial Remnant. That conflict can't just mirror what we've seen before, Dave Filoni said. It has to take a different shape, which is pretty interesting. It can't just be the Empire versus what looks like the Rebellion or even the Republic. It has to be visually different. So this might be why they focused so much on the Night Sisters in the Ahsoka series and just Night Sisters in general over the last couple of years. When you look at it, you don't want to just see the exact same story that played out during the original trilogy, because that wouldn't really work. It'd just be too copy and paste, and that's what people complained about with the sequel trilogy. So you want to make it different, and he even says visually different. And how visually different does it get when you have Grand Admiral Thrawn having an army of Night Sisters rather than Stormtroopers? And the remnant of the Empire is so depleted that they don't have that many Stormtroopers anyway. So Night Sisters over Stormtroopers would be pretty crazy. Obviously, you'd have a mix of both, but the rebellion would be even more powerful, because it's not going to be a rebellion, really. It's going to be the New Republic plus all our fan-favorite characters. Bo-Katan, Din Djarin, Boba Fett, Ahsoka, hopefully Luke, Leia, and Han, but we'll see about that, and we'll go from there. But honestly, Dave Filoni is very choosing with his words here, as they put it. So a visual difference in this whole fight between good versus evil is going to be pretty interesting to see, especially in his movie and in Ahsoka Season 2. But the final question is, would you like to see a Mara Jade-led Star Wars TV show on Disney+? So let's talk about it. Is this a good idea or not? Giving a Legends character like Mara Jade a canon Star Wars live-action Disney Plus series, is this a good idea? Right off the bat, 70% of you in the chat do say that you want this. You want a Mara Jade show in live action. But does it actually work? Does this work as an idea? Because you obviously have the sequel trilogy where Luke does not mention a wife or kids or anything of that sort. But could you bring in a Mara Jade type character that isn't that? What do we think? So could Mara Jade be animated? I mean, technically, yes. Why not? If this whole Luke Skywalker Jedi Academy show happens, which we hope it does, and you get like 5, 6, 7 seasons of a Luke Skywalker Jedi Temple show, you can tell so much story in that time period. Much like the Clone Wars does, where you can develop all these characters that we've never even heard of before. The same way that the Clone Wars focuses on the sort of smaller characters. The Kit Fistos, the Ahsoka Tanos. Well, Ahsoka's a brand new character, so smaller characters in the prequel trilogy. The Kit Fistos, the Plo Koons, the Captain Rexes, the Commander Codys. These characters that are seen briefly in the prequel trilogy. No real story development for any of them. They get crazy amounts of story development in the Clone Wars because you have so much time to spend with those characters. They introduce new characters like Asajj Ventress, like Ahsoka Tano, who are fan favorite characters now. That's what the Luke Skywalker Jedi Temple show has the ability to do. Characters that we know so little about, like Kylo Ren, Ben Solo, like Snoke, like who's the old dude at the beginning of The Force Awakens who gives Poe Dameron the map? What the hell's his name? Santeca? Something Santeca? Whatever. Characters like that have very small roles in the sequel trilogy or in any sort of story, I guess, with Luke Skywalker's Jedi Temple show, could be explored more. And then you get the new characters. You could introduce characters like Mara Jade or the next Ahsoka Tano that we don't even know who it is. Or other Jedi Padawans who were taught by Luke Skywalker at his Jedi Temple and then maybe even slaughtered by Kylo Ren. We don't know. It's a long 25 years until the sequel trilogy. A lot happens. And to tell that in an animated series that's multiple seasons will be pretty damn cool. Lore Santeca? Okay. Lore Santeca. Yeah. That's what I thought. Yeah. Kit Fisto is a main character here for sure. Well, now he's a main character. Yeah. Now he is. This is the exact thing I said before. Here we got a comment that says, Disney/Lucasfilm should focus on their own characters. Leave the EU alone. They've ruined all that they've touched. Exactly. Yeah. I'd rather it be a big part of an animated Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and Leia show between episodes 7 and 6. I would like that too. I mean, Mara Jade doesn't have to be in live action, technically. Yeah. Technically, but you'd like to see her in live action as well. Like you could have a live action counterpart to the animated one, much like Ahsoka and the Rebels crew and all those characters. Even Anakin and Obi-Wan have their own counterparts. Chiss Ascendancy in animation, that'd be pretty cool. I don't know if they're going to go down that route. Like right now, Thrawn has been so underutilized. Like he's only appeared in live action once, and that was in Ahsoka, and we haven't seen him since. Now, granted, Ahsoka was only about a year and a half ago, but we've had Skeleton Crew come out, and that didn't even mention Thrawn or have Thrawn in it either. So that's a little strange. Yeah. Josh says, I'm up for anything, but we have to all accept that Mara Jade show would be on par with a Boba Fett or a Solo-style story. Singular character offers good show, but leaves the door open for haters. Absolutely. If you're bringing in a character like Mara Jade to canon, you're opening it up to haters. I mean, there's going to be fans out there that look at this character in canon differently than they do in Legends, and that's the same problem that a lot of people are having with Thrawn. Thrawn's intentions in Legends are very different than his intentions right now, at least, or at least what we believe his intentions are in canon. And that's what sort of makes fans upset. So when they're bringing in the canons or the legend story of Heir to the Empire, and they're going to tell it differently in canon, that's going to upset a lot of fans. Honestly, it's not going to upset me for one specific reason, and one specific reason only, and that is I don't want to just re-see the exact same story. The same reason I don't want to see a live-action version of the Clone Wars animated series. I don't want to see the same story over again. The Clone Wars has nothing wrong with it. It's perfect in its animation form. I don't want to see the Heir to the Empire books that exist in Legends be word for word remade into a live action show. If I wanted to read that story or know that story, you can go read the books. So there's no reason to just recreate the story word for word. Giving us a canon version of that story allows you to do two things. One, retell the story in your own way with a sort of a different ending. Actually, a really different ending, which is the sequel trilogy. But it also allows you to go, if you want that different version, or if you want to know more about these characters in a different light, then you can go read that Legends trilogy, and it still makes sense, and it's still a fun story that you can read that's different than the one that's in canon. Yeah. Don't make the characters suck. Well, that's the goal. That is the goal. Yeah. To be fair, the Old Republic books into live action or animation would be sick. I agree with you, Melissa. But when they go to the Old Republic time period, it's not going to be a shot-for-shot remake of the words that are in the Old Republic books, or an exact replica of the video game story, or the comic story, any of it. Like, it's not going to be exactly the same. Because if it was the exact same, then that story already exists. And what's the point of making the movie or the show about it? So they got to make their own adaptation of the damn thing. You know? I would like an animated show about Luke Skywalker and Ben Solo. Me too. You and me both, Justin. You and me both. Mara Jade in live action will be easier to take compared to seeing Jason in live action, that's for sure. Well, bringing in Luke's... All right, so obviously Luke's kids and Leia and Han's kids are far more powerful in Legends than they are in canon. And they have more of them, clearly. Luke has none, and Luke and Han and Leia only have one, and it's Ben Solo. Now, Ben Solo is really powerful, obviously. He's a dyad of the Force with Rey, but that's a whole nother thing. Well, there's a lot more powerful characters in Legends. That's why Legends characters can't be brought into live action. Like Starkiller. Starkiller's been begged for years from Star Wars fans. He just can't be brought in. He's way too powerful, especially in that time period that he exists. So characters like Mara Jade can be brought into canon. Oh, not Jason. Oh, my fault. My fault. Even still, Jason Solo, far too powerful to be brought into canon. And obviously, we've passed that already. Jason doesn't exist. Yeah. Jared says, instead of Baylan Skoll and Shin Hati in Ahsoka, it should have been Jorah Sabaoth and Mara Jade. Well, honestly, Jared, before the whole Mara Jade thing goes away, I thought that Shin Hati from Ahsoka was going to be our canon version of Mara Jade. Not that she was going to fall in love with Luke, but almost that she was the next best thing. Like maybe she'd fall in love with Ezra. She starts off as a villain, but there was sort of that connection between her and Ezra at some point in the show. Yeah. I don't know. Baylan Skoll is such a cool character, and the ability to introduce cool new characters like that is one that Dave Filoni's really, really good at. But I don't know if they're going to go down the Jorah Sabaoth route at this point, because they already set up Mount Tantus in the Bad Batch, and Joruus wasn't there. The Bad Batch is going to be important in this Mandoverse. Like, they set up Mount Tantus for a reason. Yeah. How about Dove Cameron playing Mara Jade? Does she have red hair? That's my only criteria. Can they make a Mos Eisley Cantina sitcom? I think if they were to make a Mos Eisley Cantina sitcom, that would prove to us that they've run out of ideas. I think that's sort of last on the list here of projects to make for Star Wars. Yeah. Oh, the question was asked earlier why we're doing a earlier live stream today, and that's because I'm going to see Captain America 4 in theaters at 3. So usually we stream from 2 to 4. Today we had to do 12 to 2 because I'm going to see Captain America. That's right. There's no crazy reason like there's something crazy happening. No, it's just Captain America. You know? Just Captain America. Yeah. So if you have any spoilers for that movie, do not tell me. I don't want to know. I want to go in fresh. I want to go in all that stuff. Yeah. Member stream for your thoughts. Oh, well, there's a member stream on Sunday, tomorrow, for Andor Season 1, Episode 3. So if you are not yet a member, we are doing a Andor watch party every single week until Andor Season 2 starts to air. So it's members only. So if you're not yet a member, there's a link in the description below to become a member of the people who love Star Wars. So go do that immediately. You get members only live streams. You get giveaways at the end of every month. You get all this fun stuff. So do that. But yeah, we have a members only watch party tomorrow, so we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it for sure. Yeah. See, here's the thing about Captain America 4, and I'm only going to stay on it for 1 second because obviously we got to get back to this whole Star Wars side of the show, which we are the people who love Star Wars, not Marvel. But yeah, so there's been some mixed reviews about this Captain America 4 movie. And for the most part, there's been some people who are saying it's really, really bad. Some people saying it's really, really good. Some people saying, I don't know why so many people are hating on it. Some people saying that you have to watch it twice because the first time I was like, what is this? And then the second time I was like, okay, this is really good. I'm going in sort of open-minded, I guess. I know I've seen the Rotten Tomato score. I've seen all this stuff. I understand where it's at. But I think one of the biggest issues was they marketed the Red Hulk like he was going to be a main character in all the trailers and stuff. And from what I hear, he's not. So you got to go in with that mindset of I'm not going to get a whole movie about the Red Hulk. It's a Captain America movie. So I'm excited. I mean, you got the whole adamantium stuff, and that's cool. I mean, adamantium is pretty cool. So, yeah. That's it. Going back to Star Wars. That is it. Gold. Go back to Star Wars. All right. So let's put an end cap here on this Mara Jade stuff because I want to talk about what Daisy Ridley had to say. I know. Daisy Ridley said something else. We've been talking about her. She's been in so many interviews that she keeps talking about this Rey movie that we have enough content to live for the rest of our lives. But putting an end cap on this Mara Jade dealio. What do we think? Is this a good idea or not? Mara Jade getting her own show, possibly, again, rumor, or just in general bringing this character into canon? Yes or no? Is this a good idea? And if so, why? And if not, why? Could it work? That's the big question is, can it work? Can Luke have a wife and it work? Honestly, I think there's a way that they can go about it, especially Dave Filoni has his experience with threading the line of what can and can't happen. You look at the Clone Wars again, not only Ahsoka being just existing and her importance to Anakin's story, but the entire 7 seasons of the Clone Wars, the main villains are General Grievous and Count Dooku. And your main heroes are Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and Padme. For, I guess there's a lot more than that, but your main heroes are kind of just the big 3. Like Padme is in a lot of episodes, but not a main 3. It's Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Ahsoka. And then your main villains, I guess you could throw the big 3 in there with Asajj Ventress. So it's Grievous, Ventress, and Dooku. Because of the one line in Revenge of the Sith where when Grievous meets Anakin, he says, General Grievous, you're shorter than I expected. Because of that one line, they had to go through 7 seasons of the Clone Wars where one of the main bad guys is Grievous, one of the main heroes is Anakin, where these two characters never met on screen. They were on the same ship like 20 times. They were in the same planet battling each other like 30 times, and they never met once because of that one line in Revenge of the Sith, and Dave Filoni and George Lucas knew that. And that's just one example. Like, there's so many of that throughout the Clone Wars and Rebels and all this stuff. So if they can do that, then I have no doubt in my mind that Dave Filoni can pull off of bringing in Mara Jade, and just because she's not mentioned in the sequel trilogy or the original trilogy, she can't still work. You know? It's easy. Well, it's not easy, but it's a possibility. Yeah. They really need to just flesh out this era more. They do. I mean, this Mandoverse era still has another 25 years or 20-ish years until we hit the sequel trilogy. So there's a lot of storytelling still to be done. Absolutely. Yeah. See, now that's just crazy. Now that's just crazy. So I think Mara Jade, I mean, getting her own TV show, maybe not. But is her character coming to live action, to canon? I hope so. I hope so. Who knows? Who knows? RJ says, yes, if they introduce her at an earlier point in the storyline or we have room for that story. Mara Jade would allow a reason for Luke being somber, I guess, by the time of his exile in 28 ABY, 6 years before the sequel trilogy. Okay, so that gives us sort of a timeline there. Yeah, I agree with you, RJ. I think Mara Jade being introduced gives Luke more reason to go into hiding, not less. More. Yeah, I agree. Jane says, of course, the galaxy is a huge place. Not seeing her is a more likely option. Yes. But you have... here's the thing. Having Mara Jade be introduced into canon and not being in the sequel trilogy is not a problem. Because you have all of these characters in the Mandoverse time period, none of which do you see in the sequel trilogy. Din Djarin, Grogu, Boba Fett, Ahsoka Tano, Bo-Katan, Cobb Vanth, Ezra Bridger, Hera Syndulla, Sabine, like any of them. None of them are seen in the sequel trilogy. So we're getting story after story after story about all these different characters. The entire Skeleton crew. None of them are in the sequel trilogy. So why not bring in Mara Jade, who's not in the sequel trilogy? You know? Oh, 50 Thunderer with a very generous $10 holla. Holy crap, I appreciate that quite a bit. Says Mike, an impression, please, of Alan Rickman inspired voice of AP5 from Rebels. Thanks for the awesome channel. Well, thank you, 50 Thunderer, for the very generous super chat. That's extremely generous. I appreciate it quite a bit. But Alan Rickman inspired voice of AP5 from Rebels. That is crazy. Okay, well, let's just do AP5 from Rebels. I'm not going to sing the song that he sings because that's, you know. We've done that already.
I want this mission to go precisely as planned. We need to...
Okay. I hear the Alan in it. I hear Alan. I hear it. Okay. I hear it. Immediately. I forgot what AP5 sounded like, but this is pretty good.
Acquire the Imperial codes for our attack on the Thor.
Yeah, I was at the briefing too.
You just got your circuits overheated that I was put in charge.
It sounds far too much like Alan. Is it actually Alan?
I want this mission to go...
I want this mission to go
precisely as...
I want this mission to go precisely as... He's got that sort of accent, but obviously a robot tone over it.
Planned. We need to acquire the Imperial...
We need to acquire the Imperial codes for our blah, 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 blah. That's pretty good. I mean, first try, that's pretty damn good. Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate it, 50 Thunder. I really, really do. All right, let's switch gears a little bit here since we got through all that Mara Jade stuff and it only took us an hour and 3 minutes. Let's switch gears a little bit to what Daisy Ridley had to say today. Because I feel like all we're talking about is what Daisy Ridley has to say in these interviews. But this time, it's almost a very promising update. Now, actually, I want to put up a poll in the chat first before we do this. Let's end that last poll. 71% of you say you do want a live-action Mara Jade show, which is pretty damn cool. So, Lucasfilm, if you're watching, and we know that you are, let's do it. Let's do it. You got 71% of us that say yes. So, of the 85 people that are very important Star Wars fans, we need to do it. Okay, let's do that. Are you excited for the Rey movie? So, honestly, I think this poll actually might change a little bit after we read this article. From what I get from this is that every time we hear Daisy Ridley speak about this Rey movie, it reassures me that they're taking their time and doing it correctly. These are the same people, Daisy Ridley specifically, that created the sequel trilogy that was clearly met with a lot, and I mean a lot, of hatred for lack of a better word, from the Star Wars fandom. So Daisy Ridley caught a lot of that hatred in just online bashing of her all over the place. And I'm sure she doesn't want to go through that again. So what they want to do here is almost redeem these characters for some Star Wars fans who really didn't like the sequel trilogy. And maybe it doesn't work because they aren't going to like it regardless. But for some fans who are open-minded, redeem the characters from that sequel trilogy. Not just Rey, but hopefully Finn and Poe and others as well in this Rey movie. And taking their time to do it correctly, hopefully, is what's going on here. So let's take a look at what she had to say. Because last we heard on Thursday's live stream, I was going off about how this whole, Daisy Ridley's talking about how Star Wars is political and everybody's losing their minds about it, even though George Lucas always says that it's political, and George Nolfi said that it was political a week before, and nobody cared about it. Actually, not even nobody cared. Everybody praised him for saying so, and then Daisy Ridley says it, and it's a whole thing. But we talked about that enough on Thursday. We're talking about what she said now. Okay? So let's take a look at this. This is coming from The Hollywood Reporter. Let's take a look. Daisy Ridley talks the physical tolls of Cleaner, which, by the way, this is why we're getting all these interviews from Daisy Ridley. She's promoting her new movie called Cleaner, and quality over quickness in her next Star Wars movie. This is what we want to hear, chat. This is what we want to hear. So let's skip to the good stuff here, because she's going to talk about her new movie. But we want Star Wars. Okay. No. All right. Somehow, it's been nearly a decade since Daisy Ridley first endeared herself to millions of moviegoers as Rey in J.J. Abrams' The Force Awakens in 2015. That's crazy. We're celebrating the 10-year anniversary of The Force Awakens this year. That's wild. It is the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith as well, but 10-year anniversary of The Force Awakens. When the sequel trilogy eventually wrapped in 2019 with the Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, Daisy Ridley's future in the Star Wars galaxy, the galaxy far, far away, immediately became a question of when she comes back, not if. The way that movie ended obviously left it open for more stories to be told with the character of Rey. The answer then arrived at Star Wars Celebration in April of 2023. Crazy that that's almost 2 years ago now. But Daisy Ridley walked out on stage to a rapturous applause, confirming her return as Rey in Sharmina Bed-Chinoy's Star Wars New Jedi Order. Again, this is not the official title of the movie, but sort of the working title, I guess. At the time, Peaky Blinders creator Stephen Knight had just inherited the script from screenwriters Damon Lindelof and Justin Brett Gibson, and his tenure as on the film was soon interrupted by a nearly 5-month-long Writers Guild of America strike. That postponed Andor Season 2, which is coming out in a couple months, and postponed a lot of different things, but the Rey movie was not out of that either. 5 months off of not writing the script for this probably really hurt it. Also because Stephen Knight is now no longer the writer on the project, which I'm sure they'll get into here. Upon its conclusion, the clock started ticking as to Knight's already and pre-existing commitment to actively produce his Peaky Blinders film along director Tom Harper. So the Peaky Blinders ended a couple years ago, the show itself, and now it's getting a Peaky Blinders movie, which I actually think comes out this year. But so he had other prior commitments, I guess. And I'm sure he brought in a script that either Lucasfilm didn't like, Daisy Ridley didn't like, maybe John Boyega didn't like, I don't know. But they got rid of Stephen Knight for one reason or another. And now, The Hollywood Reporter recently broke the news that the Bourne Ultimatum's George Nolfi has already taken over for Stephen Knight. And Daisy Ridley is as optimistic as ever due to Lucasfilm's patient commitment to quality. This is a big deal for Star Wars fans. The quality over quantity has been a huge deal for, I guess, Disney in general over the last couple of years. They saw the mishaps, I guess, with the MCU. After Endgame happened, they went purely quantity over quality. They just put out like 10 projects a year, and literally 10 projects a year, and just threw out anything. Some of it was really, really good. like Loki or WandaVision or Spider-Man No Way Home, stuff like that. And then some of it was really, really bad, like a She-Hulk or Secret Invasions. So you had some good and bad, but it was really not quality at all. There was no quality control going on there. So they're taking the approach of quality over quickness, and that's very important. Furthermore, the story revolves around Rey's efforts to relaunch the Jedi Order 15 years after the events of The Rise of Skywalker. I honestly think that she's going to have already some sort of Jedi Order pre-established. It's 15 years later, so she's had some time to sort of get some stuff done here. But 15 years after The Rise of Skywalker. So the fictional timeline was always meant to provide some real-world breathing room, because it's 10 years later in the real world, at least, because we're already 10 years later, so it's probably more likely 12 years later. And it's going to be 15 years later in Star Wars. So it will provide some real-world breathing room. On top of that, Lucasfilm boss Kathleen Kennedy and co. are no longer bound by Disney's pre-2019's mandate of releasing a Star Wars movie every single year. So they can take their time. They don't have to rush this project out. So this is what she had to say about it. Daisy Ridley, that is. People have talked about it a lot, that the release date often affects films and how quickly things go into production. So the freedom to make sure that this new Jedi Order script is the best way to tell the story is wonderful. And I don't think that any fan would want it to be rushed, Daisy Ridley says. The wait will be worth it. I know what George Nolfi is working on, and she knows what he's working on, and he is a phenomenal writer. So I'm really looking forward to reading it, and yes, it will be worthwhile. So she, Daisy Ridley, I've said this before and I'll say it again, is one of the best actresses when it comes to talking about their projects. Because usually when a Star Wars actor or actress talks about Star Wars, fans dissect it like crazy. And usually that ends up being a bad thing because the actor or actress either doesn't know what they're talking about or says the wrong thing at the wrong time. Daisy Ridley's very, very, I guess, smart about what she says because she knows that Star Wars fans take it very, very seriously. And of course, she's saying all the right things yet again, as she talks about how stories need to be told the right way, not in quickness. As she says, of course, release dates affect filming and how quick things go into production and the quality of that film. And she's talking about how the fact that there is freedom to, whoa, what the hell? What just happened? Freedom? What the? Chet? Who's doing this? Free. Are you kidding me? Freedom. Okay. Freedom to take their time with this movie and make it the best that they can possibly do is very, very important. They're in no rush because you already have the Mandalorian and Grogu movie set to release next year. You have other movies in production like Sean Levy's, James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi, and Lando and Rogue Squadron. You have a ton of movies ready to go, or not ready to go, but you know, further along in production, or at least as far along in production as the Rey movie is. So you don't have to rush anything. This movie might not come out for 2 or 3 years. And that will be a good thing because it'll be good. Yeah. But that's pretty important. And of course, it's all going to be worthwhile. She does know the plot of this movie. That's why she signed on. She knows what this movie is going to be about. She knows what the script is going to be about. The script is just sort of writing the script and the dialogue and all that stuff. So it's sort of just getting the idea into a full-fledged script for the movie. Yeah. So hopefully it's all worthwhile. That's what she sort of is emphasizing here, and that they are taking their time to make it right. Yeah. Okay. Below, during this article with The Hollywood Reporter, she also discussed the overlap between her and Joey Locke before explaining the Avengers Endgame serves a key purpose in the action. Okay, so we don't have to get into this. But that's all she had to say about Star Wars, and that fans should be sort of happy about this news. And I think you should be. Honestly, what gets me excited about the Rey movie is the prospect of seeing Star Wars post-sequel trilogy, moving past the Skywalker saga and moving further down the line in this timeline, but also setting up the government at the time in the galaxy? Like, is it the New Republic? Is it something else? I don't know. Is Poe Dameron involved with it? Is whatever. Also, the Jedi Order. With no Sith around anymore, what does the Jedi Order look like? Is Rey going to have a different Jedi than what we saw in the prequel trilogy? Because that's what Luke tried to do as well. Will Finn be involved? That'll be a big issue, a big problem as well. Because if John Boyega doesn't sign on to the movie and come back as Finn, a lot of fans are going to tune out immediately. Because if you couldn't get John back, then you're probably not going to get a lot of fans back as well. So I think John is a necessity to this movie. But having said that, it seems as though they are really taking their time and making sure this is the best possible movie that they can make. And that's a big deal. That's the smart way to go about it, obviously, but that's a big deal. Yeah, for sure. Now, with that being said, where are we at when it comes to the Rey movie? Are we excited for it? And what do we expect is going to happen in this movie? Because whatever the plot that was explained to Daisy Ridley, she was on immediately. She was like, yeah, sign me up. So whatever that is, sounds pretty cool to me. Is Samantha coming back? You want Samantha to come back? Do we bring Samantha back? I guess we can bring her back. You want to come back? She said no. She said no, chat. Nope, she doesn't like you guys. Nope. She says no.
He lied.
No. Okay. Okay, so you've seen the sequel trilogy. Of course. There you go. The Rey movie. So maybe you don't know much about it. Let's give Samantha a little preface about the Rey movie. So the Rey movie is going to take place 15 years after The Rise of Skywalker. So Rise of Skywalker ends, Palpatine dies. I'm all the Sith, I'm all the Jedi, boom, dead. Rey wins. She's now a Skywalker, so to speak. And she's going to go off and make her own Jedi Order for the next 15 years. Okay? So we don't know what the government at the time was the Empire. Well, it's the Republic, then the Empire. Then it's the New Republic. Then it's the First Order. So the First Order is Snoke and the First Order, Stormtroopers. So they all die with Palpatine, and they all go away. So what the government looks like in the galaxy, we have no idea. Will Finn come back? We have no idea. John Boyega, we don't know. Poe Dameron, we don't know. So we don't know much about this movie. We'll preface it with that. But what we do know is it will further on the story of Star Wars, past the Skywalker saga and moving forward from there on. There you go. You could play Mara Jade.
I don't have red hair, guys.
There's literally one requirement, and she doesn't have it, so no. But the Rey movie, going back to that. First of all, as a fan who came into Star Wars later, because we got a lot of lifelong Star Wars fans, in the chat who have their very strong opinions of the sequel trilogy. What did you think of the sequel trilogy? Now, honestly, there's no hot takes here. Yes, there are. Go ahead.
Okay. I definitely need to rewatch everything again because I feel like when we first went through the movies, I didn't have a full understanding of everything. But I remember, and this was a while ago that we watched the sequels,
True.
but I remember I liked the visuals and some of the stuff seems cool, but when I was at the point where I watched it, I didn't have like a super historical understanding of everything. So I didn't have I remember there were some things that I was like, why would they put that in the movie? I couldn't even name what it was off the top of my head now. But yeah, I don't know. I liked the visuals and it seemed cool, but I could also understand why people would be upset.
Yeah, I remember you liked it a lot more than I thought you would. And honestly, that's sort of what made me realize that a lot of people do like the sequel trilogy because of that. It's Star Wars as it should be now, because the advance in special effects now is what Star Wars should have been from the beginning, and George Lucas always wanted it to be that way. He always said that he made a third of what the movie should have been with the visual effects. So obviously the sequel trilogy visually is quite good. But the continuation of a character like Rey is very, very difficult because a lot of fans don't like the character. Now, me personally, I don't have anything against the character of Rey. Honestly, I thought her being a Palpatine should have been the way they went, just they went about it incorrectly. She should have been a Palpatine from the start. Shouldn't have been a nobody and then a somebody and then a nobody and then a somebody. Should have just been a Palpatine from the start. And it would have made a great story. However, they didn't go that way. And now they're telling the story of Rey years and years later with the Sith gone and the bad guys all gone. So it's almost like, how do you make a story? What's what's gonna go down. They don't know. So I don't know. I really don't. But somehow Palpatine returns again. Yeah, there you go. Somehow Sam returns. There you go. Okay, so no excuses. Anthony Daniels didn't have gold skin. Okay, well there you go.
Somebody said I could get a bottle of hair dye.
Bottle of hair dye. There you go. You could be Mara Jade.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so Rey Palpatine. There you go. Rey Skywalker is a Palpatine, making her of Naboo heritage. When you read Padme Amidala's trilogy, then you see people of Naboo can choose their names. Now that is a crazy loophole for explaining how she's a Skywalker. Well, you could also just make it that Palpatine made Anakin, because we don't know who made Anakin, and then that would make it that Palpatine is a Skywalker, or Anakin is a Palpatine. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, but talking about the Rey movie, Chet, what would be a good villain for the Rey movie? Because we talked about Palpatine dying already. He's gone. He's not returning again, hopefully. So you got possibility of introducing a new Sith, but that sounds like a horrible idea at this point. You just killed all the Sith. Abeloth is a great option because Abeloth was introduced or teased in Ahsoka Season 1, hopefully in Ahsoka Season 2 as well. What do we think? It's a loophole that Rey knows nothing about. That's true too. It's Disney that will make Palpatine return again. No. Well, actually, somebody brought this up the other day, and it's pretty funny, actually, when you think about it. I forget the third example, but I actually forget the second example now as well. But the first example was Voldemort. Voldemort dies like 10 times and comes back because he's sort of put his essence into those Horcruxes. Shows how little I know about Harry Potter. But he dies, and he's the main villain. He dies. So he comes back because he's put his sort of life essence into these Horcruxes. Nobody has a problem with that. No, nobody. Voldemort's a great bad guy. Everybody loves Harry Potter. It seems like a great thing. I can't think of the other examples now. But there were other examples of this. Villains and... Oh, the other example was Lord of the Rings. Sauron dies, and he's gone for thousands and thousands of years and comes back just because. Just because. They say that maybe it's like the Horcrux where his life is still in the ring, the one ring, but he comes back and nobody really cares. Nobody questions it at all. But because Palpatine returns, and now there's a little bit more explanation now than there was before, but Palpatine returns, and everybody's like, that's impossible! Even though he literally returns in the same Legends content, extended universe content, that you guys seem to love so damn much. So it's pretty crazy to me. I do agree with you that somehow Palpatine return when it was first announced in The Rise of Skywalker was dumb and was not explained well. But since then, over the last 6 years, it has been. And it still has a ways to go. But from the Bad Batch Project Necromancer, from the Mandalorians Project Necromancer, the Mount Tantus of it all, the Shadow of the Sith book that I've brought up a million times, explaining how Palpatine died and how he survived, is something that fans can't get their minds around, except they accepted it when it happened in Legends. And they accepted it when it happened with Voldemort and Sauron in The Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, respectively. It's just another reason for fans to complain. And as we know, fans love to complain. But we did miss a super chat. Hang on. Okay. 50 Thunder with a very generous $5 holla. I appreciate it. Says, Mike and Samantha are such a great couple. Thank you. Both of you, please do and I love you, I know line from Empire, please.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Okay. Sure. Are you good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know how it goes?
I think so, but you should pull it.
Okay, we'll pull it up anyway. You're not gonna be able to hear it. You guys want to see one of the greatest? Pretty epic. Okay, so we can do that. But let me preface first by saying that this line was completely improvised by Harrison Ford. Well, not completely, but the original line was "I love you too," and they were like, "Nah, that's not good. That's not Harrison Ford. That's not Han Solo." So you go first.
I love you.
I know. Oh!
This is where the fun begins.
Okay. I appreciate it, 50 Thunder. I really, really do. Super Chats, memberships, keep the lights on over here. One of these days, I'm going to turn on the live stream, and I'm just going to have the lights off.
You should.
I should. And then maybe we'll get some Super Chats. Like, what the hell, chat? Are you kidding me? Okay. Where were we? Justin said, I like where you're going with this, Mike. I had the same thoughts. Exactly. I don't know what you're referring to, but yes. The whole Palpatine and Voldemort thing. Yeah. I mean, the fact of bringing back Palpatine was always something that happened in Legends in the extended universe. And they did it in canon, and the fact is fans didn't like it because of the execution. And I completely agree with that. That's a valid complaint to have. But in the 6 years since it's happened, it's been explained quite well as to how he survived. Because he didn't survive. His life essence is transferred. And that's something that can happen in Star Wars. That's something that we've seen happen in Star Wars. So to say that it's impossible to happen in canon, but it happens in Legends and you're okay with it is just stupid. Right?
Right.
You just called them all stupid. Yeah. What if Palpatine's inside of Rey? I always love this theory. If you were to just start the Rey movie with Rey being evil, it would be awesome because Palpatine in that scene says, strike me down and I will live inside of you as all the Sith or whatever he says. And she strikes him down and that doesn't happen. So it's like, what the hell? I'd love that. But no, I don't think so. I don't think so. Another example is the Avatar and the human guy. Sure. I can't say I've seen the second Avatar movie, if that's what you're referring to. And if it's the first one, I haven't seen that in like 10 years either. So, I don't know. Got to do it enough to make bringing back Palpatine cool again. So you want to bring him back again? That's a horrible idea. Yeah. No, thank you. No, thank you. Look at this. Yeah. Yeah. True. At least the EU set him up being a clone, and that was leagues more than Disney ever did. Well, now it's not. Like at the time it was. I agree with you. At the time of 2019, Rise of Skywalker, it was. But now it's not. Okay, so we're talking about new villains for the Rey movie, the Grisk or the Vong. I think your best bet is to go with either Abeloth, the Grisk, or the Vong, because introducing a species, I guess, like the Grisk or the Vong, is not easy, obviously, but it's cooler, I guess, than just reestablishing the Sith again. Like, the Sith can return at some point. I don't know how you do it or what you do with it, but since Palpatine just died, you're probably going to want to take a break from that for a little while, you know? Yeah. Yeah. They should have done one of the various EU things where nothing silly ever happens. It's true. Crazy stuff happens in the extended universe that could never happen in canon that people love so much. You know? Cannibal the Dragon says, did Disney have to make up all these shows just to explain how he returned? Yes and no, honestly. I think the Mandoverse, as we put it, all these shows that come out in between the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy, their primary intention is not to explain how Palpatine returned, but they can do so. They can tell great stories like The Mandalorian does, like all these shows do, but they can also explain Palpatine's return at the same time. It's something that Dave has done for so long so well. People complained about Anakin's fall to the dark side because it happened so quickly like that. Some people complain that Revenge of the Sith is too short of a movie, which it is. But 7 seasons of the Clone Wars make his fall that much greater and that much more, I guess, important and good. You know? Yeah, no? Okay. Yeah. All right, let's move on for a second here. Let's move on for a second and let's talk about a little bit more of this Mando verse, shall we? So, this article I saw today, did it come out today? It came out yesterday, okay? And it's talking about the Rangers of the New Republic. Give me a 1 into the chat if you remember the Rangers of the New Republic. You don't have to sit here the whole time if you don't want to.
I don't have anything to say.
Okay, well, we can call you back later on in the stream. Okay, bye. So, do you guys remember the Rangers of the New Republic? Yes, no, maybe so. And while you're at it, can we get some good Cubs follow orders in the chat, please? Bumpa. Okay. So that show, was canceled because of the whole Gina Carano, Cara Dune situation. And we won't dive too deep into that, but we've talked about it plenty on the channel long ago. But because Cara Dune, Gina Carano was fired, the character of Cara Dune was gone, and the Rangers of the New Republic, who she was sort of going to be the main character of, went away. And now it seems like the cancellation of that show, according to this article, is becoming a bigger problem than we once possibly imagined. And I think the cancellation of that project is sort of what led us to a lot of the projects that we see today. So whether that's a good thing or a bad, well, let's find out. Star Wars canceled, Mandalorian spinoff becomes even bigger, or an even bigger problem. The Mandalorian's canceled spin-off show that was created a range of problems for Star Wars' new Jedi Order era storytelling. Once The Mandalorian Season 2 premiered on Disney+, Lucasfilm charged ahead with an expansion of the so-called Mandoverse, bringing animated characters to live action for the first time, and intertwining Din Djarin and Grogu's story with legacy characters like Boba Fett, Luke Skywalker, Ahsoka Tano, Bo-Katan, etc. For a show that was originally mostly disconnected from the rest of the franchise, The Mandalorian suddenly became the galaxy's central focus. So we've talked about this before, but The Mandalorian Season 1 is very its own story. It's very much its own stands-alone story with Grogu and Din Djarin. Moff Gideon, yes. The Darksaber, yes. But it's still a very standalone story. Season 2, however, it's very much a cameo fest. Not because that doesn't make it a bad thing, obviously, but it is very much a cameo fest. You got Bo-Katan, you got Din Djarin. I'm sorry. Yes, you have Din Djarin. You got Bo-Katan, you got Boba Fett, you got Luke Skywalker, you got Ahsoka Tano, you got all these characters. Legacy characters, animated characters coming over to live action, all that fun stuff. But it makes it, like they say here, really the center focus of the galaxy with The Mandalorian Season 2. It was a train that couldn't be stopped. Boba Fett was given a spin-off. Ahsoka Tano soon enough was granted her own show too. And Lucasfilm greenlit another spin-off series called Rangers of the New Republic. Well, the Book of Boba Fett and Ahsoka both made it to the small screen, TV screen. The Din Djarin and his ward are soon headed to the big screen with the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. However, Rangers of the New Republic never was made out of its development phase. This has caused all sorts of problems in the Mandoverse storytelling. However, so this was when they first announced it. And of course, it was going to focus on Cara Dune. Gina Carano's Cara Dune was meant to star in the Rangers of the New Republic. Introduced in The Mandalorian Season 1 as a mercenary for hire, Cara became one of Din's closest allies, along with the late Carl Weathers' Grief Karga. After The Mandalorian Season 1, Cara Dune was recruited to become a Marshal of the New Republic, and the show would have seen her handling the role while dealing with Grand Admiral Thrawn's return to power and the rise of the Imperial Remnant. Now, this is sort of speculation here. Obviously, this show would have explained a lot, the whole New Republic side of things, which I feel like we're missing right now, and that's what this article is sort of getting into. But when you look at the weirdness of getting Thrawn in Ahsoka, he's now back in the galaxy as the heir to the Empire, but we don't have any insight into what the New Republic sees. We don't know what they're thinking or what they're doing because Ezra's back, and Ezra just went and warned Hera Syndulla about Thrawn's return. So wouldn't the New Republic sort of try to stop this guy? Like, what's going on? And I think this show, this Rangers of the New Republic show, would have given us the insight into what's going on with the New Republic and why are they not trying to stop Grand Admiral Thrawn before it's too late. But before the show could go into production, Gina Carano, came under fire due to controversial social media posts, which promoted election fraud. We won't get into this stuff. We've talked about it plenty of time before. She was fired. Ultimately, she was fired, and the Rangers of the New Republic was officially canceled. The other Mandoverse stories stepped up to further develop the New Republic era's political storylines, like we saw with The Mandalorian Season 3. The other shows being forced to absorb the Rangers' narratives has led to some issues, however, with certain plots feeling untethered or underdeveloped. The Mandalorian Season 3 suffered the most, though Ahsoka Season 1 is weighed down by the New Republic politics and infighting too. I disagree with that. I think The Mandalorian Season 3 was hurt by this, but not Ahsoka. The New Republic stuff in Ahsoka is quite necessary. Like, you have to have that New Republic. They're calling for help from the New Republic about Grand Admiral Thrawn and his return, and the New Republic is saying no. It's the New Republic's stupidity is how the First Order comes to power. And it's how Thrawn's going to come to power, but it's how the First Order eventually comes to power. And that had to be sort of explained well. Well, it is undeniably important to understand the galaxy's current political climate and how it is how its uncertainty might affect the Imperial Remnant and Grand Admiral Thrawn's plans. The Mandoverse might have been better off if the Rangers of the New Republic hadn't been canceled. Oh, 100%. It could have moved forward without Gina Carano after all. I think it could have too. You could have had Carson Teva be the main role in that, but honestly, it's a big missed opportunity. So Mando Season 3's most controversial episode felt like a setup. So yeah, this 50-minute episode, almost hour-long episode about Dr. Pershing was very much a Rangers of the New Republic storyline, pretty much. That's what they're talking about here. And it felt sort of interjected into the middle of The Mandalorian Season 3, which didn't really make much sense. But then they go on to talk about this, and I completely disagree with this. Ahsoka completely mishandled the New Republic story. I completely disagree. Ahsoka faces a similar problem. How the show was meant to focus on Ahsoka Tano in the intergalactic quest for Ezra Bridger, but by extension, Grand Admiral Thrawn, supposed to integrate the New Republic's political sphere into the narrative without feeling forced. It certainly didn't succeed. I completely disagree with this. The importance of informing the New Republic of Grand Admiral Thrawn's return and them ignoring it or them just being stupid is vastly important to how Thrawn is going to rise to power. So I disagree with this. I do think that The Mandalorian Season 3 was just injected with plots from the Rangers show, but this is supposed to be here. If this wasn't here, it wouldn't make sense. How is the New Republic not involved in that story? You know? Okay. Scenes that featured the New Republic, such as Hera Syndulla pleading to the Council to heed her warnings of Grand Admiral Thrawn, were some of the weakest, slowest parts of the show. I, again, disagree with this. The series named Ahsoka should have wholly been about Ahsoka's journey. Well, that's not the case either, because this is part of Ahsoka's journey. She's going to stop Grand Admiral Thrawn from becoming the heir to the Empire. She's going to have to warn the others. It's like the same thing as saying Andor shouldn't have scenes with only Mon Mothma or only Luthen because they don't have Andor in them. Like, what? Really? It's kind of a crazy take, but it doesn't feel nearly as forced as this episode did in The Mandalorian Season 3. So is the Mandoverse being hurt by this sort of cancellation? Maybe. But is there a fix? So let's take a look at this. Star Wars can't turn back the clocks now. The cancellation of Rangers of the New Republic and rather ungraceful shoved bits and pieces of the storytelling into other shows. The issue, however, is that while Thrawn is now officially returned, as seen in Ahsoka Season 1, the franchise has arguably still not done enough to truly set up why this is so dangerous for the rest of the galaxy, unless you've seen Star Wars Rebels, and even still, that's not really enough. So I agree with this. I agree with this part of this thing, this article. Grand Admiral Thrawn has returned at the end of Ahsoka Season 1. But setting him up as a villain and setting him up as a big threat to the galaxy has not been done yet. And that's why I thought he would be in Skeleton Crew at the end. I thought he would have played a role in setting up him, maybe taking at Atten, or at least proving his threat level to the rest of the galaxy. But that hasn't happened yet. So I think the Mandalorian and Grogu movie has to establish Grand Admiral Thrawn as a threat to the rest of the galaxy. And honestly, that might be the best place to do it. It's the big screen. It's the most eyeballs on the project. It's Din and Grogu, so it's the most popular characters that you have right now. So maybe making Thrawn a big deal to the rest of the galaxy would make sense to do so in that movie. But there's some of you that don't even think that Thrawn's going to be in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, which is crazy to me. But there's still, I guess, a time and a place to establish Thrawn as a villain. I just thought that at least in Skeleton Crew, they would have established him a little bit. The Mandalorian and Grogu movie has to be the place where we see Thrawn. It has to be where he establishes himself as a threat in the galaxy. And he's the one who's coming after the Empire and Palpatine and Darth Vader, two of the greatest villains of all time, two very, very threatening presences in the galaxy. And now Thrawn has to follow that. He's not a Force user. He doesn't have a lightsaber. How's he going to do that? And that's a very difficult task that John and Dave have before them. But if anybody could do it, it's them. But they have to establish Thrawn as a big time threat, like as big as Palpatine. And that's not an easy task to accomplish. Yeah. So I think the Mandalorian and Grogu movie is definitely going to establish a lot more Thrawn. So is Ahsoka Season 2. And then Dave Filoni's movie as well. I think it's still a Mando trilogy. I do. I still think the Mandalorian's going to get a third movie. And that third movie will be when Thrawn's sort of defeated. So I think you have two movies and a show to still establish Thrawn's dominance in the galaxy. Much like, I mean, look at Palpatine. Palpatine's the emperor of the galaxy. You don't see him until The Empire Strikes Back. And even then, it's only one hologram. So Palpatine doesn't arrive into the story of the original trilogy until the third movie. Really, like physically. And you meet him, you know him. He's obviously the emperor of the known galaxy. And then he dies. But because of the prequel trilogy, because we know who Palpatine is, we know he's such a genius and all this stuff, and he played both sides of the Clone Wars and all that, Thrawn doesn't really have that. He has the prior knowledge of Rebels, where he's this strategic genius, but he's not nearly on the same level as Palpatine. And that's what needs to happen. He needs to be that big of a threat to the rest of the galaxy for it to be a big deal. Yeah. For sure. Mike, I don't think Thrawn will be in Mando. Season 2 of Ahsoka will do something about it before Dave Filoni's movie. Thrawn could be at the end like a Marvel-style movie. I think what you're talking about is like Thanos showing up at the end of Avengers saying, fine, I'll do it myself. I think that could be what Thrawn does in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. I feel like he just has to be established as a good villain. Yeah. Let's put the Mandalorian and Grogu movie to the side for a moment. How about a Mike and Samantha movie? Well, I might just be in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. No, I'm not. I wish I was, though. That'd be cool. Yeah. Yeah. It's all right, Mike. No worries. I tried to tell you guys as much as possible, but I know. Obviously, a stream change is tough. No worries. No worries. Maybe the witches will imbue him as with some kind of power. I honestly don't think so. Like I get what you're saying. The Night Sisters could give him some sort of magic, some sort of Night Sister magic. I think what makes Thrawn so cool is that he doesn't have any of that, and he's still that cool. He's still that badass. So I think Thrawn, setting the tone as Thrawn being this crazy cool villain, I think the way you do it, obviously strategically you could have him win some big battle, which would be cool. But you have to establish him physically, just Thrawn himself, not his army, just him, as a threat. So you got to have him like take down Din Djarin or something. Like one-on-one, hand-to-hand combat, take him down. That would be awesome. Or maybe even kill him. I know. Mike's killing people again. Killing a main character like a Din Djarin or like a Boba Fett. Boba Fett would probably be a better one because he's a legacy character and he's older. Killing off a main character like that would immediately establish him as a crazy threat. Like if he kills Din Djarin in the movie, or he kills Boba Fett even in the movie, that would make people go crazy and go, okay, this guy's a real threat. Think about it. Vader, when you first get introduced to him, he's choking out the general of the ship, captain of the ship, whatever he is. You see him just being all badass all the time. You see him kill Obi-Wan Kenobi. Immediately he's established as the villain. Palpatine's a little different. It's more visual. Like visually he's just ugly and scary and creepy. But with Thrawn, he has to establish himself as a villain. You know? And how he does that is going to be pretty interesting. Yeah. Another Mike who loves Star Wars with a very generous $2 holla. I appreciate it. Says, I've been busy, man. Chewbacca impression? I can give you a nice Chewbacca impression. Do you want to give a nice Chewbacca? No, she doesn't. Okay. Okay. I tried, chat. I tried. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. True. Okay. Where was I? Maybe I already read that. Sorry. When talking about Star Wars and you want to say, I'm really interested in a storyline and want more, you have to frame it as they messed up. What? I don't know what you're talking about. When talking about Star Wars and you have to say, I'm really interested in the storyline and I want more, isn't that a good thing? Wait, what? What are we talking about here? I don't know. Okay. Yeah, I don't think Thrawn would sort of imbue himself with the Force or with witch magic. We saw Moff Gideon try to give himself the Force. He was almost successful in that. But he didn't. I don't think Thrawn is like that. I don't think he wants the Force, you know? Star Wars Order, what's up? Mike, what are your top 3 Star Wars movies? Top 3. Revenge of the Sith, Empire Strikes Back, and I think it's Rogue One. See, if you asked me this probably a few months ago, I would have said A New Hope or Return of the Jedi. Now I think it's Rogue One. I think Rogue One has jumped to that 3rd spot. But yeah, the top 2 are definitely Revenge and Empire in that order. Yeah. Andor watch party what time tomorrow? Andor watch party tomorrow is probably going to be at 2 or 3 p.m. 2 or 3. Yes. I'll let you know in the Discord. If you guys are not yet in the Discord, there's a link in the description below to a Discord called The People Who Love Star Wars. Go join it immediately. Okay. Yeah. He will show his dominance through his military strategies. Well, that's the thing. He's just a genius. So in Rebels, it's very well perceived how awesome he is and how genius he is as a military mind. But that wasn't really shown all that well in Ahsoka Season 1. Yes, he was established as a badass in Ahsoka Season 1, but not enough. And I think they still need to establish him more. And maybe they're waiting for the movie theater to do so. But I don't know. We'll see. I just woke up from a nap to hear Mike screaming about killing everybody. Well, that's the best way to do it, So if Grand Admiral Thrawn wants to establish himself, he's going to kill some people. Who would he have to kill for it to mean something to us as the audience? That's the big question. Does it have to be somebody as big as Din Djarin, or can it be somebody smaller? Let's say he kills Greef Karga. Carl Weathers sadly passed away. Obviously can't play the role anymore. So what if he just killed him and blew up all of Navarro? Is that enough? Tony, what's up? Is that enough? If he kills Boba Fett, now you have to, again, remember that some fans have not seen the Disney Plus shows. There are some casual Star Wars fans who only watch the movies. So for those fans, this reintroduction of Boba Fett would be the first time they've ever seen him since 1983. So to bring him back and kill him in the same movie is a little crazy. Yeah. Yeah. Ahsoka gave us a bad first impression of Thrawn? Oh, I really disagree with that. Hard disagree is what I was trying to say. Yeah. Yeah. Bro was like, don't underestimate the Jedi, and then goes and sends 2 TIE fighters after them. Well, he wasn't trying to kill the Jedi. He was trying to just escape, which he did successfully. Yeah. He successfully got back to the Star Wars galaxy while stranding Ahsoka behind him. Yeah. I'm not crazy. You're crazy. I'm not crazy. You're crazy. Yeah. Yeah, we spent a lot more time with Thrawn and Rebels. That's true. I mean, we only had, 2 episodes with him in Ahsoka? That's about it. He doesn't really blow stuff up like that. He takes precise action in little waste. He could kill off a character, but he wouldn't destroy an entire planet. That's true. That's true. But I feel like he has to do something very, very important and strategic to establish him as this dominant force. I always said taking Coruscant would be crazy because he has the ability to do that, if you think about it, with all the army that he has. I don't know. I think it's up in the air to me how they're going to establish Thrawn as a big threat in this movie. But because Coruscant isn't the capital of the Republic, or the New Republic, by the time of the sequel trilogy, it would be cool to see him take Coruscant from the Republic. So they had to move. That'd be awesome. Yeah. Why not kill the Jedi though? Well, that's because the Jedi he doesn't have an army there. He has a very, very small army, and the Jedi would have just wiped him like it was nothing. Yeah. Thrawn's not dumb. He knows his forces versus 3 Jedi. He's not going to win. So he was on a distract them and escape plan. Yeah. Sacrifice Morgan and escape. Yeah. I think Ahsoka will get back through the World Between Worlds now. I don't think the World Between Worlds works like that, one, and I don't think they're going to be using the World Between Worlds that much in the future. Yeah. Can Ahsoka just ride the wakes? Do you mean the whales? That's the party. I don't get. What? That's the party? Oh, I don't get why they can't get back. So the whales, the Purgle, what you're talking about, the Purgle aren't there. The only reason that she's able to get in the Purgle and leave from, what was that planet where they, what was the planet where they fought at the end? Or not at the end of episode 5. Forget the name of it. But the reason that they could leave from there is because the Purgle were there. The Purgle only come to Peridia to die. So I don't think the Purgle are really going to be there at any point for them to go ask for a ride home. I think the reason that they couldn't really make all those thousands of possibly undead Night Sisters in those crates back to life on Peridia was because they need something on Dathomir. I don't know what it is, but I think they need Dathomir itself to bring those Night Sisters back to life, and that's why they couldn't do it. Yeah. Cetos, yes, thank you. Cetos is the name of the planet. Yeah. I almost felt bad for Morgan at the end. All that she did for Thrawn, and he just wastes her by killing her. Honestly, yes and no. I mean, that does show the badassery of Grand Admiral Thrawn, but yeah. He just used her to escape. It's true. That is true. Morgan also made the choice too, yeah, I guess. Also true. Mike, have we talked about Andor Season 2 yet? No, we have not. And honestly, there's not much to talk about when it comes to Andor Season 2 because the trailer, we're still waiting. But Andor Season 2, there's no new news, honestly, except for the fact that Disney Plus does have it's saying Season 2 is coming on April 22nd, 2025. Now, that's not anything, obviously. There's no trailer. But it's, I guess, kind of cool. I mean, where is the trailer? That's what I want to know. We are patiently waiting for the trailer. Yeah. Yeah. True story. Might need a Purgle Uber for sure. Probably. Let's talk about Luthen and the mystery of Kalea as well. Well, we could do that. Here's the thing. We're going to talk so much Andor Season 2 once the first trailer drops and then sort of the month leading up to it. So I think because we have crazy news like Mara Jade possibly getting her own TV show, crazy stuff like that, and of course the Rey movie talk in Mandalorian and Grogu movie news, I think the talk of this is important because as soon as Andor Season 2, the trailer drops and we get close to the show, we're all just going to be dissecting all the trailers, talking about Andor Season 2 only, unless something crazy happens. And then Andor's going to run for like 10 weeks because it's 12 episodes. I'm sure they're going to release a couple episodes at the same time, but it'll run for at least like 9-10 weeks. That means for 9-10 weeks, all we're going to be talking about all the time is Andor Season 2. So we won't be talking about the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. We won't be talking about anything else really. Now, there's a possibility that at Star Wars Celebration, we're going to get an insane amount of announcements from shows and movies and trailers for movies and stuff like that. Like a trailer for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie might happen. So that means we're going to have to cover that while also covering Andor Season 2. So it's going to be a lot. We're going to have a lot of stuff in April to go over. Probably just going to, not sleep at all and just be working on videos all the time, all day long. But there you go. That's why we aren't really talking about Andor Season 2. One, because there's not much news about it. But two, we're going to talk about it quite a bit. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, okay, we started early today. Sorry. You're right, Mike. I'm so excited about Andor. So glad that you're doing the members-only Season 1 watch parties. Helps tamper my insanity. Nice. Yeah, they're a lot of fun. I mean, we have noticed a bunch of things that I didn't notice through my first couple watch-throughs, and obviously that's fun to do, the watch parties. We didn't do watch parties for the first season for Andor, so that'd be cool. It is cool, I mean. Yeah. Mike, someone asked you a question. All right, let's see. Where? Oh, are we going to binge watch? Are we going to binge watch it or just watch it 1 or 2 episodes? Season 1, are you saying? What do you mean? It's going to be a it's going to be every episode released individually per week, like all Disney Plus shows are. Yeah, no. Well, maybe he's ignoring the comment, which is possible. I mean, I would love to say I am, but I'm not. Do you think that Andor will make the top 10 on the Nielsen charts? Unfortunately, Skeleton Crew did not at all. You're right, Brent. It did not. But, the question about Mondays or Tuesdays. Yes. So this week, actually, we are back to a Tuesday live stream. So for the last, I don't know, 10 weeks or something, we've been on Monday live streams because of Skeleton Crew at first, and then it's because of my schedule then. So now we're going back to Tuesday live streams this week. So no Monday live stream, Tuesday live stream. So we're back to Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday for the rest of your lives or until something happens. Yeah. Okay, but going back to what Brent says, do I think that Andor Season 2 will make the Nelson charts? I hope so. I think Andor Season 2, one, because it's the second season, it already has that sort of hype behind it that hopefully will make it get on those charts and get better numbers. But also, I think it's going to be that good that it should be there. Now, what concerns me is the first season's numbers. The first season's numbers were very, very low. And I think a lot of that's because of the Andor, the people, the sort of hardcore Star Wars fans crapping all over the show week in and week out. And that didn't help for the normie fans who were like, should I watch this? And they were all like, no. So I think Season 2, I hope Season 2 won't be hurt by that as well. But I mean, only time will tell. Yeah. Only time will tell. Yeah. Indeed. I think the people want the streams on Monday. No, I've gotten a lot of requests to go back to Tuesdays, actually. Yeah. Yeah. True. I feel like Andor's numbers will have numbers. Oh, I feel like Andor will have numbers this time. People that left Disney Plus will at least show up for this, but we shall see. Yeah, a lot is up in the air, obviously. Who knows at this point? Hopefully the show's incredible, so we'll see. We shall see. All right, but we did just cross the 2-hour mark, and I do have to get going here soon because I'm going to see that movie later, but I also got to finish a short for today. So, yeah. Yeah. Do I think the Ghost crew will appear in Andor Season 2? I hope so. At least Hera, or at least the Ghost itself, just a physical appearance. I don't know. Because they're going to be on Yavin 4, the base on Yavin 4, I think it's a possibility. Yeah. Indeed. All right, let me end this poll. What movie am I seeing? Captain America 4. Captain America. Yeah. Okay. Are you excited for the Rey movie? 60% of you say yes. Again, that number I think will change quite a bit when we at least get a trailer or more news about it. But for now, I think it'll stay there. J1DRZ, what's up, Jay? How we doing? Okay, do you want to say bye to the fans? Okay, Samantha's going to come and say bye to you guys too. All right. Want to say bye?
Yeah. Bye, everyone. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, okay. Yeah, smash a freaking like on this stream is what she forgot to say. Hit that subscribe and hit that bell so you get notified every time I post a video, and my pretty face will show up to the recommended feed of yours. How many likes do we got, chat? Am I gonna be upset? 59! We got 90 people there! Smash a freaking like on the stream if you have not already. God, okay. And then, yeah, let's smash a freaking like in this stream. Please. Okay. Mara Jade show, maybe. Possibly. That'd be nice. But only time will tell. Star Wars Celebration might be a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. But until then, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Watch out for a short later today at 5 p.m. as per usual. We got a members only watch party tomorrow. The what if for the week, I don't know if it's going to make it by tomorrow. I'm thinking more Monday now, but we'll see. I'm working hard. Don't you worry. I am. But we'll see. And it's what if Mace Windu killed Palpatine. All right. Until then, smash a freaking like on this stream. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. All right. May the Force be with you. Always. Oh, yeah. What a great stream. What a great show. You guys are the absolute best. I appreciate you all so much more than you will ever know. Huge shout outs to Darth Plagueis Lives, 50 Thunder, Another Mike Who Loves Star Wars, John Groom, Jessica, Fearless for the very generous super chats, memberships. I appreciate it. Hope you have a great rest of your evening, great rest of your lives. I will let you guys know what I think of Captain America in the Discord. And good night, everybody.